Joy in the morning.
Good morning, Unity of Auburn. Beautiful day today, driving up 80 from Carmichael, and if you just take the time to smell the roses, as it were, we really do live in such a beautiful area, and it's such a gorgeous morning. This preliminary before our wonderful Thanksgiving. Today's daily word is protected. And if you'll say with me, I rest securely knowing I am divinely protected. Together? I rest securely knowing I am divinely protected. Protection is more than physical safety. It is the deep assurance that no harm can befall me at the level of spirit. I am guided and sustained by the infinite intelligence and love of spirit. This protection is not fear-based, but faith-based, a deep understanding that no matter what appears in the outer world, the Christ presence within me is my enduring spiritual protection. This awareness helps me put the news of the world in proper perspective. As I align my thoughts and feelings with spiritual truth, I feel safe. Affirming divine protection allows me to live boldly, knowing I am not alone. I believe in the prayer for protection, which assures me I am surrounded, enfolded, and protected by the presence and power of God. And from Psalms 91:11, for he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways.
Thank you, Donald. Beautiful. This morning, as we bless our children, I wanted to tell the story of when you cross over in death, when you die and cross over. I don't know where you go or what happens. None of us know that. But if you believe you're reincarnated somewhere, you come back, you're born again, you're a child again, right? So I remember when my mom was in the nursing home, I went in one day and there was an attendant, a little attendant gal that, one of those people that looks after them for minimum wage or whatever, and she was a Russian girl. And I came in and she was so excited because she said, your mom, I didn't know your mom lived in Russia. and I said, she did. She never did. She said, she's been speaking Russian to me all morning long. And I said, really? She said she knew the school where I went to elementary school. She knew everything about where I lived. And I said, well, isn't that wonderful? But I thought my mom died shortly after that, and I thought somewhere in Russia there was a little red-haired, freckled girl growing up in the Russian region, that maybe her soul had gone ahead and she was already there. There's no time or distance in spirit. So as we bless our children this morning, we are part of our wearing fascinators today in celebration of Edna Sparks' life, who was part of the community that created Our Lady's Tea. And so we're wearing our fascinators, and part of our potluck today is to celebrate that and to celebrate Edna Sparks. And so she's a new little girl somewhere in the world or in the universe. And also, a couple of announcements. Phil Pearson, many of us had a minister. He was our minister for many years, passed away last week. And so Phil has crossed over to be a little boy somewhere. And then last night, our beloved Maggie, the manager of our thrift store, passed away. And so we have a whole new group of children to bless in the eternal ongoing of their lives. So as you hold those people in your hearts and think about the great ongoing, how we can never get outside the love of God, let's affirm together. Child of light, we love you and bless you. We see the Spirit of God within you, guiding, protecting, and prospering you always, always, always. So it is. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right. So our little humor this morning is kind of fun in light of the upcoming what am I doing? Oh, okay, he's got our affirmation for our church. Thank you, Jack. We're still in the process of selling our building, finding opening to the right buyer to come in to purchase our building so that we can move on to the next expression of unity of Auburn. So let's take our affirmative prayer together. God's loving guidance works through all concerned to bring about the right outcome for our church property, to reveal the next perfect place for unity of Auburn. Let it be so. And I found a wonderful place. Your board president, Kathleen, and I have been stomping the pavement, and we found a really good place where we can share a church that's open and receptive to us, and so we're working with that. It's the Pioneer Methodist Church across the street from the courthouse. It's very close. It's a lovely building. It works for all of us. So Spirit's kind of putting things in place now so that when the buyer comes in, we'll be ready to go, because now we have a place where we could go. And so we just keep all of that in our minds and in our hearts for the highest and best outcome. Myrtle Fillmore always said, don't pray that your money holds out, pray that your faith holds out in these kinds of experiences. And we have the best prayer principles in the world, and we're living them. I was listening to a song on the radio coming up, and it said, time will tell our story. Time will tell our story. And we'll get to Thanksgiving next year, and we'll be able to look back and see how everything unfolded so beautifully and so perfectly for Unity of Auburn, for our ministry. So time will tell our story, and we know that. All right. A 4-year-old boy was asked to give thanks before the Thanksgiving dinner. The family members bowed their heads in expectation, and he began his prayer by thanking God for all his friends, naming them one by one. Then he thanked God for Mommy and Daddy, brother, sister, grandma, grandpa, and all his aunts and uncles. Finally, he began to thank God for the food. He gave thanks for the turkey and the dressing and the fruit salad and the cranberry sauce, the pies and cakes, even the Cool Whip. Then he paused, and everyone waited and waited. And after a long silence, the young boy looked up at his mother, who was concerned who had a concerned look, and asked, "If I thank God for the broccoli, will he know that I'm lying?" So if that doesn't get you ready for our potluck, you can smell the turkey. I brought in like 10 pounds of turkey, oven roasted turkey for all of us. That'll get you salivating for the truth, hopefully for the spiritual truth this morning. Our story this morning is the parable of the great banquet. It's found in the Gospel of Luke, and I want to remind us of the story because it's a little bit long. Jesus said, "Someone gave a great dinner and invited many. At the time for the dinner, he sent his slave to say to those who had been invited, 'Come now, for everything is ready.' But they all alike began to make excuses. The first said to him, 'I've bought a piece of land and I must go out and see it. Please accept my regrets.' Another said, 'I've bought 5 yoke of oxen and I'm going to try them out. Please accept my regrets.' Another said, 'I've just been married and therefore I cannot come.' So the slave returned and reported this to the master. Then the owner of the house became angry and said to his slave, 'Go out at once into the streets and lanes of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, the lame.' And the slave said, 'Sir, what you ordered has been done, and there is still room.' Then the master said to the slave, 'Go out into the roads and the lanes and compel people to come in, so that my house may be filled. For I tell you, none of those who were invited will taste my dinner.'" So kind of an interesting story. I always say unity is the original DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, because we believe in the sacred worth of all people at all times, everywhere. There's just, every person has sacred worth. So let's find out what's happening here. The table is already set. Isn't that a beautiful, have you been to weddings like that where the whole thing is just so exquisite? Anyway, today we're looking at we're gathering around an ancient story that will invite us into something that's alive and vibrant and deeply personal, the parable of the great banquet. Not unlike what we'll experience this week. We're in that consciousness of feasting and celebrating with our Thanksgiving banquets. We'll have wonderful food this afternoon. I say our church does best potlucks ever. And so we'll have wonderful food and fellowship to share. Jesus tells of this ruler, though. He's a ruler, which means it's a ruling thought in consciousness. He tells of a ruler who prepares an enormous feast, and the table is set with a sumptuous meal. All the candles are lit, and the glorious invitation is sent out. You ever get those wedding invitations embossed that are so beautiful? Oh, they can do so many beautiful things these days. But all the invited guests decline. One says he has land to look at, another has business to attend to, another has family obligations, another has to check on his oxen. And so the excuses made by the invited guests represent how people prioritize their worldly possessions and their concerns over spiritual growth, over their own spiritual matters, over how they're growing spiritually and what's going on in their life. So then the invitation spills out beyond the expected into the streets and the alleys and the highways and the forgotten places until the banquet hall is full. There's rejection of the invitation. What do we have here? Excuses prioritize worldly possessions, right, over our spiritual devotion, what's important to us spiritually, I guess would be the right way to say that. There is, though, a universal welcome. By compelling people from all the places to come in, the parable emphasizes that God's invitation is for all, everyone, no matter what. It's an inclusive, the Spirit of God is all-inclusive. Our Creator created us and has never abandoned us or left us. And it's really a story about spiritual availability, about your readiness, my readiness, our readiness to respond to the divine's persistent call. Do you have that voice that talks to you sometimes about things you should do? Not just go pick up the prescription at the pharmacy, but things that are important to your life, that inner voice that nudges you and prompts you. Deeper still, this is a story about the abundance that's already prepared and the consciousness that's required to receive it. There's a banquet that's set constantly. There is a universal substance and abundance and supply, a provision from the Creator. It's available at all times, but what's the consciousness that's open and receptive to receive it? How do we grow that consciousness? Jack, I think I have that in a slide. Story about spiritual availability, readiness, the divine's persistent call, the abundance that's already prepared for us, and the consciousness ready to receive it. I think the biggest block in our own abundance and prosperity and forward movement in life is our human efforts want to get in there and direct everything humanly, and it's that surrender into spirit and allowing God to be God in us and in our lives. There's a story of a woman named Mara who worked in a busy city, and her daily routines included a lot of emails and tasks and deadlines and meetings. And one day she received a small little slip of yellow paper in her mailbox, and it read, "There's a package waiting for you for pickup. There's a package waiting for you for pickup." And she put it off to the side, thinking, I'll do that later. I'll do that tomorrow. And tomorrow turned into next week, and time went by, and she didn't go and get the package. She put it up on her refrigerator with a magnet, and thinking she's got the yellow slip, so she's got to go pick up that package. But there were bills to pay and errands to run and commitments and everything that was demanding her attention and her focus. And over time, the little slip just faded under those refrigerator magnets and grocery lists. And one spring day when she was cleaning off the front of the refrigerator, she found the little faded yellow note. And so she went to the post office to pick up the box, and the attendant came out and said, "This has been waiting for you for almost a year," he said. "This has been waiting for you for almost a year." And she opened it right there on the counter. It was a dusty box, and it was filled with letters and photos from her late grandmother, memories, stories, blessings, and even a check to help her move forward with the dream that she'd always had for her life and had been waiting for. And she realized that something precious had been waiting for her the whole time, but she'd been too busy to receive it. Too busy to receive it. So raise your hand, not in just inside your own mind. Raise your hand if you've been too busy to receive the good that's been announcing it's ready and waiting for you. You know how we delay. This is what Jesus describes in his parable. He said the divine prepares the banquet, and the banquet is all the wisdom you need for the decisions you have to make, all the joy and the inner happiness for your life, all the peace of mind, all the opportunity, all the healing, all the purpose for your life. It's all there, already ready for you, and the invitation has been sent. Step into the fullness of spirit. Open your heart and your mind. Open your mind, your thoughts, and be receptive to this goodness. Believe in this goodness. But the guests respond, I have land to inspect. I have oxen to tend to. I have family matters. There's nothing wrong with what they said, nothing evil, nothing immoral, just excuses born from the distraction of an unconscious worship of your routine. Do you have that? An unconscious worship of your routine. I get up in the morning and I make my coffee and then I figure out where my creamer is, and then I get out my supplements to take those, and I maybe make a little breakfast, and I'm going to sit down and read my meditations, but oh, there's yesterday's mail I have to open up, and pretty soon my time for prayer and meditation goes by the wayside. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I haven't done anything to enrich my spirit, right? And it is an unconscious distraction, born from the distraction of the unconscious worship of my routine. So think about how this week, how could you maybe shift your routine just a little bit to make that prayer the first thing you do when you get up? Read the daily word. That's what daily word's been so popular for all 125 years, because you can get up and start yourself with a word for the day and an affirmation for the day and a scripture for the day. Something as simple as that can shift your whole day, even your week. Well, Jesus is saying you can be so busy surviving life that you forget to start living it, you know, that you just get like the hamster on the wheel, you know, and it's interesting. In Unity, we teach that the parables that Jesus gave are not just events in history, they're events in consciousness, events in our consciousness. He's giving us instruction for how to enrich our lives by being in close connection to spirit and the principles that we can live by. Every character in the story and every movement is a psychological, can be a psychological and spiritual instruction for how to best live our lives, how to live our lives to the fullest. So if we look metaphysically, the banquet, that's the divine abundance that's already prepared for all of us. That's the infinite divine essence of spirit that's vibrating everywhere, the universal good already prepared for us. It's unlimited good. It's creative ideas. It's healing. It's harmony. It's guidance. It's not earned. It's not withheld. It just is. It just is. And the question is, how do I link with it? How do I get in touch with it? And that's be still and know that I am God. Allow it to flow in your life. And whatever might be obstructing that flow, try to just forgive that, clear that out, surrender to that. The banquet is the inner spiritual, the divine substance of God that's waiting to be realized. And as we said, it doesn't have to be earned. It's not withheld. It's already prepared. In Scripture, it's before they call, I will answer. While they are yet speaking, I will hear. Your Father knows the things you have need of. Philippians 4:19. The Spirit of God knows your needs and is even now fulfilling them according to the riches and glory of Christ Jesus. Words that have come down through thousands of years, vibrating in the universe, that when you connect with those words, you put yourself in the stream, in the flow, in the stream of consciousness for all of that good. The invited guests, there are habitual thoughts. Your guests, your servants are always your thoughts. And so your habitual thoughts about your life, about how things go for you, about how things work out for you. And the ones who decline, the guests who decline, those are the parts of us that are the speed bumps in our life. They're when we say, how do I become enfolded in the flow of God's goodness? And then it's in my mind and in my heart and in my feelings. And where's the obstruction? Do I have a speed bump somewhere? The speed bumps are the parts of us that resist, that procrastinate, that live with fear, that live in scarcity thinking, or just busyness, lack consciousness. Whatever is habitual in you, you always think of it this way. Things just don't work out for me. Things don't turn right for me. I've never had any money. I can't get ahead. I'm always a day late and $1 short. Those are those habitual thoughts that you want to begin to get rid of. You want to say no to that and begin to turn them, to transform them. In getting aligned with Spirit, they're the thoughts that say, I'll meditate later, or I'll change my life later, or I'll take time to pray later this afternoon or this evening. I don't have time this morning. I've got to get up and do all this other stuff. Or I'll follow my dream later, or I'll step up my faith later. You know, it's always pushing it off into some other time. The guests decline the banquet because the states of consciousness of fear and procrastination, resistance, scarcity thinking can't sit at the table. They can't sit at the banquet, a feast of abundance, because there's a just disconnect. I can't have the thought of lack pervasive in my mind and believe that I'm walking in alignment with the Spirit of God as abundance. But what about this? Or that's not working out. You see, you can't have that. It just doesn't work. The servants are your thoughts, as I said, but they're also your spiritual intuition. They're the thoughts that keep reminding you there's a feast prepared for you. I love this little guy, the waiter with the tux, there's a feast already prepared for you. That change that you're thinking about making, that giving up smoking, that giving up drinking, that making that phone call to apologize to that person, that thinking of someone and calling them just to check in on them. All of those thoughts cycle in you and recycle in you. Those are your servants. They're saying, step into this, follow this, do this, and there'll be an outcome that'll be abundant and good. There's a feast prepared for you, so come. Step into it. Take that action. The poor, the crippled, the blind, the lame, those are the humble, receptive parts of us. A consciousness that's willing to receive. I don't know about you, but I sometimes get my best help from Spirit when I'm when I'm not in a human self of me do this, but I'm in a more weakened, vulnerable position. When I'm down for the count, I'm down for the count, and I'm saying, okay, God, I surrender. I can't, the human self of me, I can't do this. I need help. It's then that there's a crack of opening and the light can get in to help. So that's the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. Those parts of us that are somehow not fully robust, so that there's a vulnerability to a receptivity to hearing the Word of God. And let's see, what do we got here? They represent openness, surrender, a heart that's ready for transformation. The banquet hall, when it's all filled, that's the result that you're seeking. That's the manifestation of the good that you want to see in your life. And it means you're in the flow and things are flowing and filling and abundant everywhere in your life. So when you shift your consciousness to accept the invitation, behold, I have prepared for you a table, step in, come to the banquet. When your consciousness says, okay, I'm in, then joy arrives, opportunities open, clarity emerges, relationships heal, creativity flows, and divine substance takes form. You're drawing from the universal God consciousness, and you're aligned with it, and it can flow into your life, in and through you, and out into your life in splendor, in beauty, in abundance, in everything that's good. Now, the great banquet is not a future event. It's not a heavenly after party, not when you die and get to heaven and everything works out great. It's not that. It's not a reward for being good. It's not a reward for good behavior. It's a state of consciousness that is available right here, right now. We can open ourselves to it and allow it to flow in and through us. And really our work is to get ourselves more open, more profoundly open and receptive. The spiritual table is already set, even if you haven't shown up to the party yet. But it's never too late. Every time you pause and breathe deeply and say, I'm ready for my good, you're putting yourself, you're stepping into the stream. Let's put our hands on our hearts this morning and say, I'm ready for my good. Together, I'm ready for my good. How about our ministry is ready for our good? Our ministry is ready for our good. Yeah. Every time you do that, you're walking through the banquet doors. I like the idea of stepping into the stream and being caught up in the current of spirit, you know. Every time you choose love over fear, you sit at the table. Every time you follow that inner guidance, those thoughts that are saying, make that phone call, forgive that person, surrender this worry, give up that concern. Every time you do that, instead of feeling outer pressure, you taste the food of the banquet. Every time you step into your gift or your calling, your creativity, you accept the invitation. For this, God, Jesus said from the cross, for this was I kept. For this was my purpose. I'm stepping into this fully and completely. Maybe you have a little yellow slip of paper stuck under some magnets in your life, right? It's been there for a couple of months, maybe a couple of years, and it's starting to fade, but the package is waiting for you. There's a package waiting for you. It's an inner calling that maybe you've postponed. It's a dream that you've delayed. It's a spiritual practice that you've neglected or are neglecting. It's a healing journey that you've deferred. Active now, healing journey. The banquet awaits. The table is set. The candles are burning. And the divine has not rescinded the invitation. What would be a word for it? It's an ongoing, perpetual, eternal invitation. Come to the table. Come and sit in the abundance of spirit and feast and enjoy. So this Thanksgiving week, I want to invite you to come to the table. You don't have to earn your place. You don't have to fix everything before you decide to open fully to spirit. You don't need to be perfect, prepared, and polished. You're not just invited. You're expected. It's how the universe flows and functions. You're expected. So your homework is to work on building your receptivity to your own consciousness of abundance. How can I expand the abundance of my life that I give and receive? You know, how can I open to the goodness of spirit in more powerful and profound ways? Giving thanks is certainly one of those ways to do it. Lay down your excuses. You can keep in mind, he that is within me is greater than the one that's in the world. You can quiet the noise. Be still and know that I am God. This is how we can get ourselves open to abundance. You can accept the invitation. I say yes to spirit in my life. You can come to the table. I'm open and receptive to God's good in my life. So lay down the excuses, quiet the noise, accept the invitation, come to the table, because the feast of divine abundance is already prepared and it's been waiting for you all along. So we have our, there's your homework. Accept the invitation. Come to the table by building your consciousness of receptivity. And our affirmation for this week, let's put our hands on our hearts as we think about being open. We have so much to be thankful for. The feast of divine abundance is already prepared, and your seat has been waiting for you all along. There's your seat. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? All right, here's our affirmation. My life is overflowing with the gifts of spirit. I am grateful. Together, I am grateful. And so it is. So it is. So let's take that into a time of prayer. So as we come into this time of prayer, I want to invite you to allow the words that you hear spoken to become the silent words of your own heart. So let yourself be still and open and receptive as we hear the words of the psalmist. And again, these words are thousands of years old. They've been spoken through every kind of experience, and they have a vibration of love that can penetrate your mind, your thoughts, your heart. So just be open to them this morning. From the psalmist, "For with you is the fountain of life. In your light we see." And I'd like to picture that stream. See yourself in a setting where there is a beautiful babbling brook, a stream, and the water is crystal clear. And you take off your shoes and socks and roll up your pants legs and you step into the water. And it's refreshing, cleansing, healing. And as you let it wash over you, it symbolically washes away any concern you have this morning. Any fear, any doubt, any worry. Any sense of loss, any sense of grieving. And the longer it flows over you and smooths, it feels so smooth and gentle, the idea comes to you, greater good is flowing into my life today. Right results are unfolding in all circumstances, in miraculous ways. This is for you, for your life. Greater good is flowing into my life today. See that stream moving over your body as the water moves over you, but also a stream of light and vibration, moving in your consciousness, the light of spirit moving, streaming in and through your heart, in and through your thoughts, in and through the physicality of your body, healing, renewing, loving, supporting. Greater good is flowing into my life today. Would you join me in affirming it? Greater good is flowing into my life today. I am grateful. I am grateful. There's a tremendous vibration of thankfulness on the planet this week. And as you see yourself stepping into that stream of water, that babbling brook, you can just step into the praise and appreciation for everything and everyone in your life. And so take a deep breath of life in. Helps you reconnect with the one true source of all good. And as you exhale, release any tension or troubling thoughts. Let yourself rest for a few moments in the quiet. Because it's that receptivity that opens the way for greater good to flow into your life. It allows you to consciously reconnect with the Spirit of God within you. Greater good is flowing in my life today. Claim it now for yourself. For your loved ones, greater good is flowing in your life today. if there's anything you feel pressured by, you remember that God is in charge, and you can look to the larger order of things. Spirit is with you and within you, guiding you and ordering all things in a perfect way. Continuing to stand in that stream and feeling that water rush over your legs and feet and ankles. You can be reminded of the earth, its rotation, the movement of the planets, the stars, the cycles of life. They are all expressions of divine order, the same order that reigns in your life. Greater good is flowing in my life today. Again, please. Greater good is flowing in my life today. We affirm this for our ministry. This Thanksgiving week, we give thanks for each one of you and your participation in our church. We give thanks that there is a right buyer for our building and a right place for us to worship and serve as a collective ministry. We give thanks for our board members, each one who are meeting this experience of the transactional part of ministry, selling the building and getting things in order for what's next. We give our hearts to each one of them gratefully. We give thanks for our thrift store that produces beautiful, affordable things for everyone in the greater Auburn community. We give thanks that a portion of those receipts are tied to the Auburn Interfaith Food Closet so that the purchases help feed families in the Auburn area. We're grateful for the health of our bodies. We're grateful for the clarity in our minds. We're grateful for the love of family and friends, so many of whom are right here in this room today. Friendship, companionship. We give thanks for each one who serves in our ministry, our AV technicians, Jack and Jesse, Dave and Dave, our ushers and greeters, our hospitality team lovingly preparing a fabulous feast for us, where we can celebrate the word from the message today that the table is already set for you. The good for your life is at hand. Come to the table. For with you is the fountain of life. In your light we see, and we are blessed forevermore. And for this time of remembering, this time of praying together as a church family, we give thanks in the name and the nature of the living Christ. And together we all say, Amen.